Okay, good evening. Welcome to the Monday, April 22nd Select Board meeting. I'm John Martin, Francine Tishman, Jim Labrie to my left, Matt Rowland, and Renee Groden to my right. We're being recorded, and also this is going out live. If you can join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. And the important news that's not on here is Bruins, Red Sox, and Celtics won yesterday. So we're doing good. Okay, appointments, we have none tonight. Hearings, we have none. We have reports. Ed, would you like to go first?
I don't have any updates.
Okay,
I don't have any updates for tonight.
no problem. Jim, do you have anything?
All I can say is the planning board met last Wednesday, and we're in the middle of reviewing a subdivision, definitive subdivision that was filed with us for Pequot Road. Other than that, there was no other business. And it's continued to the next 2 weeks.
Where is it?
Pequot Road. It's on the west side, not too far south of the old Pequot Civic League, if you guys remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one that's a budding one that was already just approved?
No,
Is that the one?
there was two subdivisions were preliminary,
Yeah.
and this is the only one before us as a definitive.
Okay.
And it's a 9-house subdivision.
Shocking.
They're all 9-house subdivisions, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's been lately.
Okay, thanks. Francine?
Okay, yes. As I say every week, the bylaw committee continues to update the existing bylaws. We are also researching the need perhaps for some potential additions. For instance, drones versus privacy, those kinds of things. So we'll be getting back. The state has not, they have a bill, but they have no law with the language that we can follow on drones so far. We expect to produce, for the select board, a draft for your review, and hopefully get it to special town meeting next winter. I mean, that's as close as we can come to it. It's a huge undertaking. The other thing is the next committee is the Master Plan Implementation Committee, and they've just about completed the group review of the entire document. With discussion back and forth in terms of interpretation and so forth. We're in the process of updating information and progress that different departments have made towards the goal. In order to track that, the committee produced this type of tracking form, and all of this information will be shared with the select board when when Mike comes in to do the presentation, and with updated information, and hopefully we'll be getting some direction from the select board on how to proceed. And that's it.
Okay. Matt?
I don't have any updates since our last meeting.
Okay. Renee?
Yeah, I don't know if this is new to anybody, but Conservation Commission, Clearwater Woodland Conservation Area, formerly known as 111 Glendale, ongoing with survey, sign, parking, etc. They're putting an article on the warrant related to the management of forest wood on town property, using the funds for trail and land maintenance. And then I'm going to be spearheading a volunteer drive for management also of the trails. John, you're going to report on we haven't really talked about the event, so you're going to do that?
No, I've got two of them here. You
Okay,
can do
good.
it or I'll do it.
You can do it. Council of Aging met 4-3. They're looking to increase hours for the center and director. There's a warrant also related to exemption based on income and age. We're going to be talking about that tonight. There's a large number of trips planned. They're very popular. People should check them out. Dopafit, the new group down across from Big Y. The director there has been running a class at the Senior Center for Movement. And also stay tuned for pickleball at Conant Park. Mm-hmm. And then CPC also met 4-3, discussed the CRs on CPC lands, and that requirement, discuss the vote on the Palmer Meadow Road land, and also discuss the citizen article about decreasing CPC %. That's it.
Okay, so going back to the Open Space Review Committee, we had a forum and a dinner, I believe we reported it last time, on April 10th at the church, which both the dinner and the speakers were very good, and it was a nice turnout. And we're having another one on April 30th, which is a forum and a dinner at the church again. According to my calendar, it is at 5:30. And then on May 11th, we're having a hike and a lunch, and I have that as 12:45. Does that sound right, Rini?
I'd have to double check.
Okay.
I
But,
think maybe the
if you-
hike's around 11 or something?
Yeah.
And then the lunch is afterwards?
Right. But if anybody wants to attend, if they didn't get to the first one, I really recommend the second one next week on 4:30 at the church, because Mark Walmsley will be doing part 2 of his talk, and also we have other speakers there, so. And the dinner, again, was great. Good to ask for more. I'm the alternate to the MPO, which is part of the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. Roger Fuller won't be at the meeting tomorrow, so I'm going to attend the meeting in his place, which will be my first meeting, so I'm looking forward to that. And just in case you haven't heard, the Hampshire Council of Governments has announced that they are closing. My question is, because it came up a while back, is what happens to any outstanding debts that they owe, because it was brought up that maybe the towns owe some of that money, and I know the legislators are talked about that a little bit, but it never got anywhere because they were still open. Now that they're closing, that topic's going to come up again. So, Ed, do you know anything about that end of it?
No, this has been very sudden. They won't close probably until sometime in August, but there's a lot of pieces that we'll need to shake out. The one piece that they did take care of was to make sure that the Hampshire Regional Health Trust was set aside and will continue without them being in existence.
I believe they said they're going to try to put the building up for sale, which they said is estimated at roughly $5 million. I mean, it's a historical downtown landmark, but, and I think that's all I have.
And I did remember one thing. Have had a few people ask about the Memorial Day parade this year, and I remember last year it was kind of done and organized by committee rather than individual. So, are we going to pursue that same path this year?
Do you remember who was on the committee?
I mean, I know Maureen did some of it.
Yeah, actually, I just got a phone call this weekend. I spoke to Nancy Hughes. I think she was in there today to talk to you. So she and Richard are working on it. They asked Cindy and I to help out again with the invitations, which I believe we're both willing to do. I'm sure she's going to get Jerry involved. And I think that the American Legion is looking to bring in somebody else to kind of replace Richard. So we've been working on it a little bit. And then I think Joan is willing to get the flowers.
So do you think you have enough people involved?
Maybe next time around, after I meet with Cindy and Nancy, I'll come back and see what we need. But we just started talking about it.
Okay.
The unfortunate thing is I think the Hampshire Regional, I don't think they have a marching band.
Right.
So that's,
They don't have one.
They don't have one
just
anymore.
have a jazz band now, is my understanding.
so that would be a big change. But anyway,
Okay.
we'll see. Next time I will report back on it.
Okay.
well,
If you need
thanks for
anything out of
staying
me,
involved.
just let me know, please.
I just make note of the date. It would be nice to have a good number of members there.
So maybe on the next agenda, you can put the date in?
Sure, that'd be great.
Sure.
Okay. So old business, is there any update, Ed, on that at all, or is that just still going
What's
through?
that?
East Street
East
Bridge.
Street Bridge.
No, I am expecting that report from VHB from the soil borings, but no further update on that at this point.
Okay. New business, review operating and capital budgets. That's just there as a placeholder in case anybody had any questions, but we voted on those already. So does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir?
Robert Floyd, 15 East Street. I believe you did not vote on the budget last meeting to close discussion and deliberation. You discussed it, you announced you had a balanced budget. I looked at it again today. I didn't see a vote.
Did you look at the film?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to take your word.
Okay.
Thank you. So if we didn't vote on the closing the budget, which means it's still open. Does anybody want to consider anything else, or do we just want to take a motion to vote as we reviewed last meeting?
We don't have any additional information, do we?
I think the things that were left up in the air, when I thought about it, went through the line by line that we went through multiple times. I think where it ended was, unfortunately, there wasn't reserve fund. And unfortunately, there was a $53,000 shortfall to the request of Norris. And there's no funding source identified as for the mosquito control thing.
Right.
So those are the things that, in my mind, felt a little up in the air.
You know, the mosquito one I want to talk about later and see if
Yeah.
we can put something through there pending us finding funding for it.
Yeah. And I just want to, actually, I'm noticing that there are a couple of Hampshire Regional School Committee members in here, because when I was looking over the most recent report from FY19, they had encumbered, unencumbered, there was a pretty good-sized balance. And it just seems like we were painstakingly going through the Norris budget, thinking we had a $53,000 shortfall. There was probably $800,000 in the Hampshire Regional. I mean, Southampton's portion of, basically about half. That would be the equivalent of about $100,000. What would that do to the, I know that it's already been voted on, but it just seems like we pulled from everywhere we could, and now there's,
You can come up here if you like.
it just seems like, boy, that would be a nice place to take $53,000 from, and then would be, or 60, and give a little bit of reserve fund.
Before
Right.
you say anything on that, but we can't pull from Hampshire budget in order to fund Norris. That's the issue.
Not right now, yeah.
At this point.
Right.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
You see, this is,
Okay, never mind.
so, go ahead.
Margaret Larson, 9 David. I think that question kind of depends on your perspective, because when I asked the principal about the fact that these funds are unencumbered, she's frightened by how small that number is. Because we're in April.
$800,000?
Because we're in April, and we don't know what's going to happen before the end of the year. So that number actually feels low to her.
What,
At
did
this
she
point.
say why?
Because we don't know what's going to happen. I know we just got another out-of-district placement, and so if those things happen.
That money isn't there for this fiscal year, so if you get an out-of-area placement, you're not going to pay for it out of this year's
You could,
budget, are you?
if you would get one for this year,
Even this late date, you can get
you absolutely can have that
for a
happen.
month somewhere?
It can absolutely happen. Or someone gets injured and requires a full-time nurse. There's things that happen. So her perspective is a little bit different on it. Certainly at the end of the year, there will be money left, and we'll use that to fund capital and some of the other things, the same as Southampton chooses to do that. You have free cash at the end of the year.
I guess
She will be at the meeting, the 510 meeting tomorrow night.
Okay.
I won't.
So, there's certainly some things that you might be able to ask her that I think probably the other towns would be interested in knowing the answer to as well.
Thank you.
I guess my question on that is, how is it that money is available? It was built into, supposedly to be spent during the course of the year, and it wasn't, so it has accumulated and it adds up to $800,000. So I'm looking at the 2020 budget.
Right.
And we've had this conversation about, can we shave that a little bit?
Yeah.
Just so that by the end of the next school year, we're not looking
Well, I
at an
think,
$800,000 surplus, and the rest of the town, quite honestly, you were here, so you know how
Right.
we struggled.
Oh, I know.
For the
I know.
$53,000 for the school and, all the other little requests by comparison.
and I know that last year for the town of Southampton, that was a huge budget struggle. And at the end, we ended up with free cash that we are then using to support operating stabilization, capital stabilization. So I don't know how much was in free cash at the end that is going in all those buckets, but that's $400,000-$500,000.
Yes.
The-
No, you're right.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, I mean, that still happens.
True.
As, you know, and I think that the other towns have that.
I guess the issue, just following up on Francine's concern, is when we were going over this at the five-town meeting,
Right.
Bobby showed this reoccurring, you'd use the money, then build it back up. So every year, there was $500,000 or more sitting there. You'd use it, it would build back up. So it was a kind of a constant $500,000 or more.
Well, we are using it.
Right,
So
but
we're
then it
using
funds
school
back up.
choice and we're using, because we don't know. And it goes back to that
Understood, yeah.
question of if there was an emergency at the school and we need to go back to 5 towns, we can do that. And that would make sense to people, that we need to fund some physical emergency. If it is a student who is going to cost us $300,000, which happens, that's a tougher thing to go back to the towns and say, we need that money for one student. It's just a harder conversation to have. And so that's why the state would prefer that we have some in reserve.
Yeah. I mean, your question, can it be reduced by a number? Absolutely. It's comfort level on the school side versus comfort level on the voters.
Right, right.
It's going to be an interesting town meeting, and I'm sure you'll be there. to
Of
help
course,
yourself.
yeah, and so will the principal, so will the superintendent, and so will the business manager, so there's some questions that we can ask. But like I said, she will be here tomorrow night, and so she can come prepared.
Bobby going, do you know? tomorrow?
I don't know, I can find out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can make the request. Tammy, do you have anything to add to that? My diarrhea in the mouth.
Okay, so let's get back to the operating capital budgets that we reviewed last meeting. Any other thoughts or concerns, or can we take a vote to,
Happy to approve it.
you want to move it, the vote?
I'm happy to, yeah, I mean, unless anybody objects, but we can discuss it.
Yep.
I'll second that.
I move
let's get
to,
the motion
yeah, I
out
move to approve the, what are we gonna do? The operating budget that we reviewed, the meeting of, what was the date?
Last Tuesday?
Yeah, one-
16.
Well, it had to be
16.
adjusted.
Yeah,
which it was.
the adjusted operating budget that we approved, or that we reviewed line by line at the select board meeting on Tuesday, April 16th, as amended, and frankly, as presented in our packets, because I did double check that the adjustments were made.
Okay,
Um,
good. Rini, do you want to second that?
Sure.
Okay. Any discussion on that?
Do we need to add the word capital in?
That's a
Motion?
separate budget.
Okay.
That's a separate vote, correct, Ed?
Okay.
Yeah, separate vote.
He
So
And those are in the articles,
had it
really.
listed. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So if we need to vote on the capital budgets, same process. Can we have a motion to accept the
Okay.
capital budget as submitted and amended?
I move that we accept the capital budget as presented at the April 16th meeting.
And by capital budget, just to make sure I'm on the same page, it's what we're spending out of.
Yeah.
Right.
The fiscal 20 capital items you'll see in the,
Yeah, I'll second that.
okay.
Fiscal 20.
Discussion on that?
Well-
Where is it? I mean, are these the things
If you-
that we
if you
did in
look at
capital
your
committee?
packet, for instance, this is here.
Okay, got it, all right, yeah,
Okay.
okay, I understand what you're.
So, any
Just wanna make
discussion?
sure.
Or you
Could
wanna-
I just ask for a, I mean, it was presented to us and there were a few changes. Could you just review the changes? One was that the stormwater, but 35,000 was going to be taken out of operational stabilization. Can we just review what those changes were in the end?
They're all,
Well, those are all in the
in
articles,
the
which
warrant.
is why I was
Okay, are
thinking maybe
we-
we would
but we're
approve
not
this
going through
after.
them.
No, I
We'll
know.
go through the articles later, though.
Oh, okay,
It's on the list,
they're
yeah.
in,
okay.
Yeah,
So, all in favor?
aye.
aye.
I'm not sure what we're approving then.
Capital budget as we reviewed last week at the 16th.
Well, do you think we should, part of me thinks that we should approve this after.
Yeah, me too.
So I vote no. I think we should approve the capital items after we go through the articles to make sure that everything's buttoned up. And then once the articles are buttoned up, we can approve the capital budget.
That's what I was
No, I mean,
thinking.
I don't see, I don't know.
In case something changes.
I look at the capital budget different from the articles on the warrant, but Ed, is there a proper way here so we don't, and Mr. Moderator, if you have a sense,
You're all in here.
I'd be glad to hear that.
Robert Floyd, 15 East Street. I don't remember you historically voting separately on a capital budget. You would vote on the budget, as you did now, and then you would vote on all the articles at the end
At the meeting.
of the discussion on the articles.
Okay.
And that covers it all.
All right, we all saw the warrant articles, so,
Okay, so if we're willing to take back the motion in the second for the capital budget approval?
I withdraw the motion.
we'll withdraw the second.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. Okay, now we're on the review annual town meeting warrant. Before we do that, I'd like to get to the licenses and permits,
Yeah.
because otherwise we're gonna have Mr. Capriati sitting here for a while.
He's
So-
enjoying himself.
Yeah, but not that much. David, if you want to come up here. So, the beer guy, David Capriati, One Day Beer and Wine, Southampton Harley-Davidson, 17 College Highway, April 27th, Customer Appreciation Day, 11 A to 6 P. Where'd Ed go?
Just run out real quick.
I want to make sure all the paperwork is in order.
I mean, all of this paperwork's right here in our packet.
Alex, where's he go online? Okay.
I'm pretty efficient myself.
Well, you've done this
So
several
many
years
times.
now. Yeah.
Okay, so it's beer and wine, everything's filled out. Location other, that's filled out. Williams Distributing.
Ed, is all the beer guys' paperwork properly filled out? To your knowledge?
T.
To the T.
Harmless liability
gotten
insurance.
To a level of expertise on this that I have
He's done this before.
He's
Yes.
done
He's
this
done this
before.
Okay, so
before, and everything's in order.
everything is in order, so can we have a motion to approve the license?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I'm gonna sign it. Okay, while he's doing that, we'll go on to the next one. This is for Trevor Chapdelaine, One
Just the
One
top
Day
page,
Beer and
that's
Wine,
it.
Conant Park
Yep.
for a family party. And everything was here, copies of the checklist, everything
And
was
this
signed.
one, if you would vote to approve it, subject to
There's one.
us receiving the copy of the permit from Conant Park, which the individual was waiting for.
So the permit from Conant Park,
So I so moved on your motion.
is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sounds good. You want to send that around, Ed? We'll sign that.
Sign that real
Yep.
quick, I'll pass it down.
One?
Yeah, just one. and then
Give
the
me
other one's
yours in
coming.
just a second, David. Hopefully, it's not raining like last Saturday.
That's the other one.
No.
Nice.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, where?
That's bad.
Should be a good turnout then. Convert it to a boat show.
Yeah.
While we're waiting, let's do the warrant, Francine. You want to read that?
Yes, warrant P 19-40 in the amount of $277,542.19.
No approvals or signatures required. Thank you. Pass that, please.
Jim, would you mind just,
Okay, we're going to go over the town meeting warrant. We have it hard copied in our packets. Okay. Everybody sit back and relax. We're going to be reading these.
Are we gonna read them?
Well, isn't this what we were sent already? This is the same thing.
Well, we just want to make sure everybody
Okay.
feels comfortable.
Okay.
There was some wordings that was stricken. Now, Robert, is there a need to read these out?
Tonight.
Robert Floyd, 15 East Street. When you asked me that last year, I said yes.
Are you going to say the same thing this year?
I don't know.
Don't
know.
They're going to hear them at town meeting.
Well, yeah, the idea is to inform the town, let everybody know. I'd be comfortable you summarizing them. The moderator will have a information session this Thursday here, 7 o'clock, and we'll read each and every word, and we'll be reading them May 7th, 2 weeks tomorrow night at the town meeting. So just as long as everybody's on the same page for discussion.
So I'm going to go
Well,
through,
does anybody have, can we hold a computer? We can put it up on the screen. Everybody can see it at home.
That would be great.
I mean, that would, then they could always review it, watch it, and see it.
it should be on our website.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just talking about we're discussing it and
Oh.
just throwing it
People are
out.
watching it right now.
Yeah, no worries.
Usually you don't, can you usually see it though? Wasn't that a problem in the past?
Good point. You really can't see it clearly. When I was reviewing it today, I really had to look closely to
really?
read some of the line items.
Because the computer doesn't direct feed into that thing? It has to
Yeah, I thought we
optically
were
get it?
direct feeding.
It was taking it off.
Oh, direct feed, I'm sorry, I thought you were meant
Yeah,
projecting
we were going to
on the
direct feed. The
screen.
computer should.
Yeah,
You
you
should be able to
lose the
direct feed.
resolution when you go to another medium.
Yeah.
Let me ask
Hey,
Ryan.
Ryan,
Can you?
otherwise I'll just read each one, I'll summarize it, and see if there's any questions.
Versus the camera on the screen?
Can we plug it in directly to the,
Yeah.
is it up here?
Well,
The answer is
I guess-
no.
Off the
I
screen.
thought we
Okay.
put it in the past.
Good idea. The
I'm gonna-
answer is no.
Is that how it is?
It would, but the quality's, puts you to sleep.
So I'm going to read each article, the title, summarize it quickly. If there's any questions, we'll go through the questions. If not, we'll go to the next one. How's that?
You want to trade reading responsibility?
Yeah, at some point,
Go down the line?
when I go, it's your turn.
Okay.
I really was real helpful last time on this, so.
Happy to help.
Yep. So Article 1, presentation of educational awards. Those are the Richard C. Allen Awards we do every year to students, and that comes out of the money at the transfer station where they bring the returnable cans back. Presentation of certificates is Article 2. Any state certificates, we read them and bring the person up. Stop me if you want to talk about one. Article 3, this is a citizen's petition to reduce the CPA surcharge tax. Currently is 3%, and this petition wants to bring it down to 1%. Article 4 is change senior.
Could I?
Sure.
just, Can I make a notation that someone explain what the difference is? Not between 1% and 3%, but the dollar amount or what people can expect or not expect? Is that something Vicki can do at the,
That's a great thought. She should be able to do that.
Yeah, if it's not Vicky, it'd probably be Jen.
Jen, yeah. So could you ask her to take the average cost of a house and what it would be, 1%, 3%? Is that do what you need for
Or
us?
per 100,000, either way.
Right.
Well, I don't like the per 100,000 only because some people just can't extrapolate, how much that's going to cost them before the vote.
Well, then how would you do it?
Well,
Don't
if the
forget the
average
first
house
100,000.
is worth 300,000, this would be the difference between 1% and 3%.
I'm still confused.
Oh.
I mean, that's my thought. If you want to do it another way, what do you folks think?
Well, the first 100,000 would be removed, make sure that happens. And then the other thing is, the state match is the one that's a bit of a wild card.
And
That's
by
the important piece.
reducing it, currently we, being at 3%, which is the highest, the town is in it for 3 rounds of match. They go in and do the initial, which is the last probably year or so has been down around 10 or 11%. They go through a second round and a third round. So we get a higher percentage of match than somebody that is at a 1% level.
So, I mean, Rini, that's a great thought too. We're going to lose money, both sides of that. So would Virginia be a good person to explain that? Because if you have all those facts, I think it's going to.
Yeah, we need to have these facts
it would-
outlined.
yeah, it's important for people to understand.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Robert
We'll talk
Floyd,
about it.
15 East Street. As moderator, I speak to, or I try to speak to every author of the article to ensure there's going to be some representation. And just a general note on citizens petitions, any person can obtain signatures and submit an article for a warrant. The Select Board cannot change a word. It is what it is. But once it's on the warrant, it no longer is any author nor a citizen's article. It's the town's article to do what they wish to do
so
or
we
not
can-
do at a town meeting.
Okay.
But
So
we
I
have to leave it on here for the town meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I imagine there'll be people speaking for it, and I'm.
I
in favor, and
try
then-
my best to speak to those who
Right.
want to speak to me and discuss that they're expected, or it would be a good idea if they did speak so.
But like for example, somebody could move to amend this and that it be stricken, correct?
Every article can be amended. And generally, an amendment is how the flow of the meeting goes, and somebody comes up with a better idea than what may be the original article. But you also can table it, kill it. So it's open for all possibilities, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because you wouldn't amend this back to the 3%, you would just strike the whole article.
Correct.
We have a CPC meeting prior to the town meeting, and so we were going to discuss.
Thursday night, there's going to be not really the pros and cons, but so much the information. This is the article, maybe this is what it means, but no debate Thursday night. That's saved for the town meeting.
So we, Rini and Francine, I mean, you're absolutely.
But somebody's got to
on that
state
we
the facts
need
on
this
this.
information so that people, before they vote, will know how it's going to affect the town and the CPC.
There's be plenty of opportunity for anybody to speak. Jim, you have a question?
Quick question.
Need the facts there.
It's traditionally that the select board reads the articles at the town meeting.
Yeah, and
But would this be something,
Good-
because
good
I don't want
point.
people to be under the impression that we're supporting or bringing this forward.
Good
Maybe-
point, good point. Historically, I've had the author of the citizens petition come up and make the motion for the article. There was one instance where the author wasn't in the room, I believe, and a select board member read the motion. So if nobody reads the motion, the select board and anybody in the audience can stand up and read the motion if they wish.
So you will ask for the author initially.
I just to make it a
I think it's a great.
warm
idea.
and fuzzy, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I do think that John's point is well taken, Ed. I don't know if
Sure.
Jennifer would be able to, I mean, I think that community preservation has already discussed presenting some facts relative to community preservation funds and projects up till now and in the future. But I think that having our treasurer speak to, this is the average price of a house in Southampton, this take away, 100,000, this would be the amount of the tax at 3% versus 1%. Would that be possible to do?
Should be, yes.
Well, so that would be part one, but then, and because these people should be prepared for this, sometimes
Right.
the lights bury one's ability to speak. And so if we're going to have Virginia speak to the other
side of it, yes.
side of it, so
Yes.
people should make these people aware that we're or we're asking them or expecting them, hoping that they will speak so that they're allowed to have bullet points in their hand, or are they not?
Yes, the moderator, once the motion is read, asks for a pro, then a con, then opens it up.
Yep.
And as moderator, who is ever in line at the microphone, gets called on next. So whoever that person is gets called on next.
And another thing is if Vicky can give us historical data of the last 2 or 3 years of what was paid and what was matched by the state,
matched,
which is very important. Historical data would be important to have, and not just forecast.
And what the money has been used for up to now. I mean, it's afforded the town to do
Yeah,
things
and
it
there's a
otherwise
lot.
couldn't do.
I think,
Can't miss
can you
this,
talk
but-
to CPC?
Yeah, that part we're going to actually be prepared to address. But I think coming from the person who does the tax bills, I
Yeah,
think
oh,
that would be
yeah.
important to give some data to the taxpayers.
Yeah, so if Jen and Vicky could prepare the other parts.
Yes.
I know Ed wrote that down. Good, that's all great information. Thank you,
That's
sir.
all your discussion. I'm not part of that.
That's okay, but don't go far.
Okay, I'll be ready.
Okay, Article 4, change senior exemption income levels. I want to change the income levels for property tax exemption from up to 20,000 for single and 25 for married.
Where is the original number?
It's not on here. That may be a good
Right,
question.
right now, it's 18 for single and 20 for married,
So we'll,
which is a really lower
That would be
floor.
the,
Can we,
Does this
other way
affect, does
around.
this affect, no,
right?
no, it'd be the lower number for single.
can
and
we
not-
amend this,
Oh, I see what
Mr.
you mean.
Moderator, to
No,
put
you-
from
you-
18 to 20? Without affecting anything?
Ed would have to retype it. What you can do is simply make the motion that would fit under the four corners of the already typed article.
Just
So
explain, I guess.
that's better.
Could go into the summary that the current levels are 18 and
Yeah.
20.
Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds good.
Okay.
Good idea, thanks.
18 and 20.
Does, I mean, there's, just out of curiosity, does this, I mean, does this affect anybody?
I'm
It
sure it does.
affects a very small number of people, but
Yeah, I mean, for-
both of
I mean,
these
this
figures
is a
are
great idea.
basically below the poverty line.
Yeah,
I
of
mean,
course.
anything we
Yeah,
can do to help.
My understanding, it's only 2% of the people who can, fortunately, who can take advantage of it, you know, whose incomes are that low.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not gonna,
Yeah, the original estimate was maybe 8 to 10 that it might
for
affect.
people.
And that's just extrapolating it from the current percentages.
Okay, and Article 5 kind of goes along with Article 4. It's to change the age where you can have that exemption from, I believe, 70 to 65, yes. Okay, next are general bylaw amendments, Article 6. We want to change the title of the Board of Selectmen to Select Board to more accurately reflect the makeup of the board. Article 7, amendment to the Town Personnel Policy and Procedures Board bylaw change. Want to take the PQB from an elected to an appointed board of 3 members, or 5 members.
Are we trying to review typos and stuff right now, or are we just summarizing? What are we?
I
are
would
we
say
doing all of
circle them and give them to Ed.
it? Chad.
Yeah.
Okay. Later. Okay.
Typo's not gonna, change much.
Yeah.
Okay, next, budget and financial items, Article 8. We're gonna approve the annual operating budget for fiscal 2020. Article 9, transfer station enterprise fund. That's just normal, raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds. The amount stated, $208,101. Article 10 is the water enterprise fund. 11 is transfer for amortization of the WPAT bonds, which is for the septic systems, a normal transfer. Article 12, transfer for ambulance-related expenses and wages. Again, normal transfer. Article 13, transfer for ambulance loan repayment. Article 14, transfer to ambulance stabilization. Article 15, funding for police academy expenses. This is a one-time expense. It may reoccur depending on our police force, but to train 2 police officers in the academy.
That are filling open positions.
Right, that are filling open positions. This will take care of the 2 folks. This won't reoccur next year unless we have an issue with new police officers that need to go to the academy.
Okay. Can I just go back to 12 and 13?
Sure.
Well, especially 12. In terms of the transfer, there's no detail as to what the money's going to be used for? They don't have to provide that? No description?
No, it just goes into their, offsets the budget, the fire department budget for expenses and wages, so it's not all coming from the taxpayer
From the
dollars.
taxpayer, so this is just, all right,
Normal transfer,
supplementing.
Did you have
Okay.
one on 13 also, or?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
So those numbers are obviously reflected in the budget, though, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
We
Yeah.
do that, we do it
I
every
mean, we
year.
don't see the revenue side of it, but we see the expense side of it.
Right, otherwise we'd have to add
Yeah.
more money to the budget lines.
Yeah.
Okay, Article 16, funding for MS4 stormwater management permit expenses. This was taken out of the budget line item and put as a separate article.
Could I submit to add just
You have to come up here, Randall.
Randall Cap Highway Superintendent? It's not just state compliance, it's federal compliance with the
Oh, yeah.
Clean Water Act. Just,
State and federal, or just federal?
it's to comply with the federal Clean Water Act, the federal government, the EPA, kind of co-manages it with the state DEP. So I would put
Okay.
So let me-
State and federal,
slash
state and federal, yeah.
So let me ask you a question. If we can amend it, depending on what Mutterer says, will this be inaccurate? Because we want to make sure it's an accurate
I think it might be a minor detail, as long as we are funded for it. Hi.
Good to see you. Robert Floyd, 15 East Street. We can amend it as a typo in a motion on the floor.
On the floor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And we could also clarify in the summary.
Okay. I want to make sure whatever the vote is accurate, so somebody doesn't come back to us. Okay, Article 17, 5-year contract for Hampshire Regional School District for busing. We're doing this because anything over 3 years has to be voted on at town meeting. It's a 3-year with 2 additional options. Article 18, 10-year contract for the town for recycling. Again, it's over 3 years, so we need a town meeting to vote on it.
So it's a 5-year contract with a 5-year extent, or what is it? What is that?
No, it's a 10-year with a
10-year
5-year.
5 years.
So it could be 15, is what you're saying?
Well, it's a
Yeah.
10-year. What would happen at the end of 10-year, if they exercise the 5-year extension, they would have to come back to the town for another approval.
Now, I'm sure this will be asked at the town meeting. What is the benefit going from where we are now to 10 years? Is there a big change in, just curious.
We're currently at 10 years, but it's expiring.
Okay, so it's been 10 years in the past. We're just
Yes.
continuing that.
Yep.
Oh, that's good.
Great, just good to know. Yep.
Okay, Article 19, Town to join mosquito control program. We don't have the funding in place yet, $5,000. So let's look at this and make sure. And fund a membership fee from available funds, free cash or whatever funds we can find. But this isn't, is this committing us to actually find the $5,000 as written? And if we can't find it, where do we go from here?
Is there money in the Board of Health budget?
No.
No.
So,
We have
I
to
mean,
have free cash or something?
I mean, there's a couple ways to go with this. If you could try to identify where the $5,000 is coming from, whether that's free cash, whether it's operational stabilization, or possibly look at it as a vote to join in a future time, and that you'd have to put a caveat in here that the funds would need to be identified at a future date.
I mean, to me, as I'm reading it, it votes us to become a member, like, you know, right
Yeah,
away.
we'd also asked for a little bit more information on this, because,
Yeah.
I mean,
The
the
other
last
question-
I heard, we're like literally watching mosquitoes, and
And
I'm
that's
exaggerating a
bas-
little bit, but
that's
like, we're
basically-
monitoring them, we're not doing anything with them. It's
No.
just kind of like,
Correct. This has 2 advantages. One is it starts mapping where the mosquitoes are. It'll tell you if they do have any of these diseases or whatever that we should be worried about. It does not give you funding for treatment. The other upside is if these testing or mapping showed that we had an issue within the town of Southampton for whether it's encephalitis or any of the other ones. If the federal government declared an emergency in our area, if we did belong to the mosquito control program, we'd be eligible for those funds. If we were not within the mosquito control program, we would not be eligible for those federal funds.
Okay, I have a question. It doesn't say annual fee of 5,000, so does this 5,000 cover the 3-year period, or is it 5,000 per year for 3 years? Or it should say annual in front of that if that's the case.
Well, you'd still have to appropriate it annually.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering, are people going to say, is that for 3 years, or is it 5,000 each year?
yeah, that's a
My
fair
my
question.
memory is it was $5,000 a year.
Annually, that's
Yeah.
my memory too.
So we're making a 3-year commitment by passing this
Well,
Correct.
we
at
don't
this
have,
meeting, as opposed to a
Correct.
year by year.
Right.
So you should put an annual fee of 5,000. I would just clarify it if you, I don't know if you want to do that or not, but.
you know, this was on our warrant last year, and I think with no money last year, I think it was just stricken last year. But, you know, mosquitoes do cross town lines. This would be a perfect county-wide initiative, not a town-by-town initiative.
I'm in agreement with that.
Okay, anybody like to make any changes to this?
Can we move to strike it?
We can take this off by a vote of the board, so if you don't want it on there, we need a motion and a second.
I would move to remove Article 19 from the town warrant.
Is there a second?
I didn't hear what he said.
I would move to remove Article
it.
He
19.
wants to remove Article 19 entirely.
Well, I think it's important to understand where these things are.
I guess I would be,
Before we discuss, I'll second it for a discussion, how's that?
Okay.
So go ahead.
I mean, I would have voted along with Matt to have it removed, except when Ed clarified that if we do not participate, then we're not entitled to any funding in the event that something should happen here. So it's kind of like insurance policy, so to speak. I hope it doesn't, but if it does, if there's assistance out there,
just think
we
the
know we
chances
need
of
it.
I think the chances of that are as close to zero as possible, but that's my personal opinion.
We got information about it last time, and unfortunately, that was a year ago, and there's a couple new board members. I don't think that we got the information we should have gotten to deliberate on this.
So what are
Yeah,
we
I mean,
saying? That if
whatever,
there's
I mean,
an outbreak, if there's an outbreak in West Nile or something, they would come in and assist us with,
Well, he was
no, this
saying
is
that-
just to map them.
No,
but
that's
we do
what
have
this-
assistance if we're in the group.
What he just said, if we don't have a membership in this organization to monitor and
Assuming the
map it.
federal money ever came into the past, which would require one heck of an emergency. I mean, I just
Might be
feel like
right.
the chances of that are,
I think some of the skepticism
Not-
last year also was, I mean, look what tick-borne diseases. I mean, we like, what do we keep paying like $5,000 for various insects, or, you know what I mean? So I just don't think it's been very well explained.
yeah.
I mean, it sounds like it has a lot of positives, but we're looking for money now, and to come up with $15,000.
Okay.
Well, will the Board of Health be able to speak to this if it's kept as an article that we could then on the floor deliberate about it?
If we ask them to, sure.
Yeah.
Well,
You
based
might
on the
wanna-
way the article was written, they're not funding this.
What is the Board of Health?
I understand that,
requesting
but they're
it?
not, but when I saw that article come through, it's to find additional money. It's not coming out of their budget.
But they could speak to it as how advantageous it is to the town or not, and then the voters would decide on whether they pass it, then we have to find the funding for it.
Correct.
I think if we leave it for at least discussion at town meeting.
Okay.
That's
So,
my take on it.
I'm going to call the vote and see where this goes. All in favor of removing Article 19?
Point of order, Ed, help me out here. You need to identify where the money's coming from, and not at a town meeting.
There you go.
It says from available funds. That's not sufficient enough?
No, you'd have to identify
You need
specifically.
to,
This isn't
an
worth any
account, you
pool of
need to
money.
identify free cash or whatever.
Do we need to identify it now or at the town meeting?
Need to identify it before the town meeting.
Okay. So can we change this to say from free cash? That's the only source that we know there.
Yeah, that would be the only source, but we can also vote, and then if my motion fails, then I guess it would have to,
Okay, so we're going to have to back this up. So the motion is to remove it, and if we go ahead with it, we got to take a vote and put where the funding is coming from. Okay, so
know that going in. I mean, that's part of the discussion.
right. So just to clarify it, if this doesn't pass to remove it, we'll come back and have to identify the funding source for the article. So this vote is to remove Article 19 entirely. We've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
So 1-4? So we're not removing it.
Okay, now we'll just put free
Is it-
cash and let the
Yeah,
people
so-
talk about it.
And was there 4 votes against it?
Talk about it, yeah.
Right.
Against removing it.
Against removing it.
Yeah,
Right.
So it will stay on.
correct. So now we have to go back and fund the membership fee set up from available funds. Free cash is where we would probably put it from. Is that just a administrative change, or do we have to have a whole motion on that?
You would need a motion.
You make a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
At the end.
Okay, so we can just put free cash here now,
Correct, and then, yeah.
do it at the end. Okay, so pencil
So
in
from free
cash.
cash, cross out
I feel like
available
we should make a
funds.
motion to do it out of free cash, but that's
Well,
fine.
we're putting it in there, and we're gonna
Free
approve
cash.
all of these as amended at the end.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Article 20, funding for the highway plow/dump truck. Is this a bond, a debt exclusion here for $250,000 to purchase a new dump truck with plow and sander body? Just from personal, Randall, at the town meeting, hopefully you can have some pictures or something, because people are
Yeah.
thinking of $250,000 for a truck. It's gonna kind of go pop. And after we saw the pictures and the frame and all that, I think it helped us at the last meeting. So if you can bring something, I think it would be beneficial.
Absolutely.
Article 21, funding for Norris Elementary School building improvements. Says various improvements for a total of $97,800.
No, John, just back up for there's two articles here, 2021. Is there any chance that we get Charlie's PowerPoint? He had all the pictures of the school and the
dump
truck. Is there any way we could just get a copy of that? I think he sent a copy to us.
You know, he
He
did.
did.
Yeah, so we
are
can
we
just
able,
use that.
how are we posting that, or can we do that?
We can do a PowerPoint, correct? We did it before.
Yes.
Okay, and you won't have an issue with that?
But that's,
Robert Floyd, 15 East Street. Anyone can approach the moderator, show me what it looks like, whether you're for an article or against an article.
So what we presented at the board meeting last time, were you here? The overheads with the
I
truck?
saw it first before I went up.
Does that sound reasonable at the town meeting?
Yes.
We'll use that exact presentation.
Okay.
Perfect.
But the
Yeah.
time of the presentation to the select board was very long, so
It
you
was,
want to give some
and good point,
parameters?
and I was playing with that as I was walking away. 5 minutes is what a limit. Anything beyond 5 minutes, people start to decide how they're going to vote against it. So 5 minutes is nice, it keeps their attention, and it's fair to whether making a verbal presentation or a PowerPoint
I
presentation.
think if we could put the picture up while we're reading the article even, people would see it.
Let's get
Rather do it.
the motion first.
Charlie's initial PowerPoint included the truck and the school and several different things, so we're going to be doing one at a time.
Okay.
So we're going to look at the truck, so put up that picture.
yeah, but as Rini said, it can't go on for as long as it did, or we're going to lose
but-
people by the time we get to
We
the
don't want a
next
three-night
article.
town meeting,
Yeah.
We've been at a few meetings, the moderator won't let that happen.
or go to midnight again.
Hope it doesn't let that happen either. Next one, Article 22, funding for SUV cruiser for the police department. This is to replace an old Crown Vic. Article 23, funding for administrative vehicle for fire department. I guess I have my concerns on that, spending that kind of money for a administrative vehicle at this point of the budget process, but
Well, that's why I raised the point, could we buy something that was used? I know he needs a vehicle that's, can get through all kinds of weather conditions and so forth, that's critical. But it does seem like it's, at this point in time, a lot, but
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do.
I guess I'm going to contact the chief and take a look at the vehicle, so when I go to the town meeting, I'll have an idea of, if it's all rusted out and everything, and you can't see that going down the road, that's important to know, so. Article 24, transfer for Norris School fire alarm, that's a safety issue. Article 25, transfer for Norris School sidewalk replacement repair, another safety issue. Article 26, transfer for police dispatch radio console replacement, $92,000. Article 27, transfer for fire department fire turnout gear for $12,000. Article 28, transfer for library roof replacement, total of $44,000 coming from two accounts. Article 29, transfer for police department IT, PC, and software upgrades, $15,000. Article 30, transfer for town hall IT, PC, and software upgrades, a little over $8,000. Now revolving funds, pretty much all standard, we do every year.
These two, Article 31 are new.
Right, I would say conservation is new, and fire chief is new too, okay? So these are two new ones going on there. First one is conservation forestry, which is a cost of oversight and management of conservation land, including forest land. The board that's authorized to spend the money is the Conservation Commission. And the revenue is coming from forestry undertaken on town conservation land. The next one's for fire department brush services, clothing and equipment, comes under the fire chief.
Question,
Revenue collected from fire permits to go towards brush equipment.
People might, I'm just trying to prepare for the meeting,
Sure.
they might ask what kind of dollars are collected
That's
on
right.
either one of those.
I was gonna ask.
We
So-
normally have a limit of, say $10,000, I'll turn it over.
No, he was asking
there are
how much
there's
money do
spending limits,
do
but how much will they
get
take in?
ordinarily?
Yeah, just for people know,
Do we know? Well, the Concom isn't getting any money from forestry.
No,
right?
but they do the fire permits now, so they have some idea what the revenue is.
So Ed, can you follow up with the chief on that?
I certainly can.
I'm not saying I think it's a good idea, but I just
No.
think that people should know the number.
No, you're right. I mean, if we have the numbers, that'll save time at the town meeting.
Yep.
Okay, so on the Concom, they're looking for 10,000 max, and on the fire department, looking for 5,000 max.
And they can't spend it unless they have it.
Correct.
I mean, that's an important point to make to people if they don't know, that's all.
And the rest of them, there's no changes in the rest of them, correct, Ed, on Article 32?
That is correct. It's just reestablishing those levels.
Okay.
But no increases or decreases.
Next is Community Preservation Projects, Article 33. This is just a report of the CPC. Article 34 is 68 Pomeroy Meadow Road acquisition right of first refusal for drinking water protection. Those are those 5 lots. And Article 35, funding for prior year bill for Cook Road. Seems every year we have 1 or 2 of these.
Yep.
It's $2,762.50. Okay, we have to have a motion to approve the articles for the town warrant as amended.
Did he get to Article 35?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't hear it.
So we need an article. Or we need a
Motion?
motion
I'll make a motion to approve the warrants, the articles for the warrant,
as amended.
Amended.
as amended.
Okay,
I'll
is there a second?
Second,
Okay. Any discussion on these, other than what we had already?
Seconded?
I
Francine.
did.
Okay, if there's no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Ed, could you make sure that there's someone to address the mosquito, like give a little bit of information about it at the night of the town meeting?
Who presented that? Did that come from the Board of Health or from
Yes.
the?
It came from the Board of Health.
Okay,
So
great.
We should have
Thanks.
those
Perfect.
folks there. So we don't have any personnel change forms. Any other necessary business that cannot await the May 2nd regular select board meetings? Does anybody have anything?
Nope.
Okay, we need to sign the annual town meeting warrant.
Which means I'm now going to have to leave you for a while and amend it, and I'll be back.
we'll-
You don't see me in half an hour.
We'll be here.
Come find
Okay.
If we're not here, don't come looking.
Just skipping around the calendar announcements, we have meetings May 2nd, May 7th, right before the annual town meeting, and the May 7th one will be at the North School Library.
We also have one tomorrow night.
And we have,
And then when's the next one gonna be in May? Do you have any idea yet?
well, let's go back on what Rini said. We have one tomorrow night, it's a 5-town select board meeting here at 5:30. Pizza and soda will be served. If that doesn't get you here, nothing will. The finance committee should be here. I believe the school representation from the school committee will be here. We just want to talk about budgets and the process. Okay, so Jim, you were saying after May 7th, you want a meeting set up?
Yeah, I'm just looking for the following meeting.
Okay?
You wanna look at the,
Keep in mind, the 21st is elections.
you're
June.
right.
No, May.
May.
June. I'm kidding.
Oh, I thought somebody said. Okay,
So,
so I have down already the 14th and the 28th, but that's just the cycle.
yeah,
Well,
we're
why
gonna
would the
be on 7th,
14th be
week
when
before.
we have one on the 7th? We wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, that's the annual town meeting, so that's the short one.
Go to the 22nd. Be 2 weeks.
The 22nd, I already have one for May 22nd.
Well, anything after the 21st, I'm not going to be here.
So should we have one on the 14th?
Yeah,
I don't have to.
I know it, but,
I'm thinking.
The 7th is the town meeting,
right.
and then we
When's
would
the election?
normally have one on the, right, the 21st.
When is the election? The 21st?
21st.
Yeah, it's the election, so. Yeah, it's not good to have a board meeting on the election night. It's, you know,
I second that.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good
So why
idea.
don't we keep the 14th and the 28th?
Okay,
Sound good?
okay.
I guess I got one more meeting.
You can do that.
You don't get away that easily, Joe.
28th.
Okay.
The other thing is, there was a question of whether we actually even needed the meeting on the 2nd.
Yeah, and Ed was going to address what we had on the agenda, so when he comes back, we can ask him.
Yeah. Although my membership on the select board may be a little longer, Ed told me if there was another tie.
It's true. It would be longer.
Yes, it'll play
And you know,
rotation.
Rini, on the 2nd, I'm not going to be here on the 2nd.
You're not going to be on the 2nd?
No.
Well, actually, I had asked Ed about it. He said, let's just keep it for now. I can always cancel it. I think he was just trying to be strategic around when the meetings were prior to the
I think he was too,
town meeting.
but I don't
But you
know
know
if
what,
any
there's a
of the
meeting on the
executive,
6th. You have
executive
that,
session,
right?
the executive session.
Yeah, wasn't something, he was going to publish something, we're going to hold a public
We
hearing?
have a meeting on the 6th.
Yes, the 6th. That he moved it from the 2nd
Yes, we
to
have
the
a-
6th,
Yeah, right.
so we should be able to just,
Because we have one tomorrow, we have one,
Oh, so we don't have it
6th
before the
and the
annual town
7th.
meeting.
yeah,
right, so I think we were going to try to cancel the 2nd, but he was reluctant to do that.
well, we can
Then
cancel now if I hear him.
I'll make a motion to cancel the meeting on the 2nd of May.
Ed's not here.
Was that an actual motion?
No,
I was just joking. Sorry.
I was following his lead.
There'll be no joking up here, please.
You should bang this while he's away too.
No, that's okay.
Suspend
Okay.
us for a meeting.
Okay, so let's go to the minutes to approve April 2nd. Everybody has them in their packets?
Yep, I'll make a motion to approve the April 2nd regular session minutes.
Okay. Is there a
I'll
second?
second it.
Okay, so anybody find any issues?
Not one.
And it was a lot of information, too. Okay, so if there's no issues, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay.
I wasn't present.
4-0 and 1. Okay. So this brings us, if I'm accurate, to open time for the public. Is there anybody out there who would like to come up to the
I
podium?
thought we already
to-
did this.
What?
Didn't we already ask for open time for the public?
Nope, not yet. Anybody like to have any time for the public? Anybody has any issues or questions? Okay. We'll close open time for the public. Next thing we're going to do is go into executive session. So unless I missed something,
Well, we're gonna have to return, aren't we?
well, it's possible,
Well, aren't we gonna have to return to?
We'll have to
To sign the
return to
warrant?
do,
yeah,
Oh,
we may have
warrant.
to.
yeah.
So I'm going to change what it says here and say we're going to return to open session, which, sorry, Ryan.
Do you want me
Means
to-
that's gonna keep you here. You okay with that?
Nice to know, you know.
Do you want me to check and see how far along it is, and we might
take a
take a
break.
break and come back?
It wasn't that much.
Yeah, why don't we
time.
just take a quick break?
Let me
But
see
this-
how
That seems a
he's
little
doing.
unnecessary. This could go on for a while.
Yeah. Okay, so
5-minute break?
let's take a 5-minute break. We are going into executive session. We did that already.
I believe you did.
We did that already.
I don't think we approved the amended.
Yeah, we did.
Why did he?
To sign it. Or, no, we gotta sign one of them, but we.
Yes, we did approve it, because
I've
remember I
got-
said, can we?
Changes.
Yes, we did.
Right.
Why are we?
No, we voted on it, so we can sign it, I guess.
Yes.
So you can sign it and open.
Yeah.
Open session, okay.
Sign it.
Fine.
So do you have the one for signature, Ed?
You have the two for the signatures. They were down there.
Oh, that's what we're signing? Okay,
I'll
so
sign one.
that's going
John,
down.
you've already signed them.
Yes,
Yep.
he did.
The warrant?
Yeah, that's what I passed to you.
Oh, okay.
And we're not gonna have a May 2nd meeting, so cross that off your list. Okay, so going back to, is there anything else before we go into executive session? Ed, is there anything that you can think of?
What's that?
Is there anything you can think of? We approved the minutes, April 2nd minutes, 4, 0, and 1, if you want to write that down.
Okay, hang on.
Right.
Okay, April 2nd,
And
4, 0, and 1. Who made the motion?
Rainey.
And
Okay.
Who's seconding that?
Second.
I think Francine did, but.
I seconded.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think that's all we,
No, and then we picked May 14th and May 28th as our next scheduled meetings in May,
correct.
May 14th?
and May 28th.
Yep.
28th.
Okay.
They won one
We
more
picked
meeting
the
out of it.
14th?
Yep, 14th and 28th.
Why do
Thank you.
the meeting on the 14th?
Well, that brings us back into the sequence we're in now.
The election.
Yeah,
Yeah, the 21st would be the election.
yeah.
Trying to sell them on the 23rd, but it didn't work.
Okay. One last time. Anything else we need to go over before we take a motion for executive session?
Not that I can see.
Okay. We're going to go into executive session. I'm going to read the reasons behind, and we are not coming back to open session. So we're going in first executive session meeting, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Number 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. This is for a full-time police chief contract. Session number 2, same Mass General Law, but number 6, to consider purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. This is regards to 68 Pomeroy Meadow Road. Number 3, same Mass General Law, but under number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. This is for the Police Officers New England Benevolent Police Association. Session number 4 is the exact same as above, and this is for the Dispatchers New England Benevolent Police Association. Number 5 is, again, the same law and section. This is for Local 98 International Union of Operating Engineers, which is the Highway Department. Number 6 is same Mass General Law, but item number 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements. This is for approval of executive session minutes of April 2nd, 2019. Need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
A second?
Second,
Roll call vote. Reedy?
Roden, aye.
Roland, aye.
Martin, aye.
Tishman, aye.
Labrie, aye.
Okay, we're in executive session. Thank you, everyone.